Hey, how's it going? It's Grant with the Garden of Eater, and tonight we are playing Stump the Shrimp Pro. We were supposed to do some trivia tonight, however, Shelby is feeling a little under the weather. Um, she's not able to be on stream tonight. You're going to have to deal with just me. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of "Where's Shelby's" in the comment section, but that is not going to get you any points. Um, Pretty much the rules are it must be freshwater dwarf shrimp related. No locations or Latin names, no anatomy. Um, and it has to be something that I haven't already admitted that I don't know how to do it, like how to create Taiwan bees from scratch, ghost bees, calcios. Not sure off the top of my head if there's any more, but pretty much use this as your advantage. Ask questions about your tanks, ask questions about diet, whatever you want. I will be giving out prizes. The better the question, the bigger the award. For even just a small stump, you'll get yourself a free thing of shrimp food from Ultra Fresh Shrimp Foods, the Shrimp Pro seafood patties. This container is almost empty. Of course, you'll be getting a brand new one, but this one is. Oh, I have a brand new one right here. What am I doing? So I got this one over here. This is left over from last week's, I guess. Layla set up the live stream area for me, and yeah, we're all ready and set to go. So ask your questions away. Good questions will get a gift card to our website, tgoeshrimp.com. All right. So how's it going? Rick, Dave, Mike, Jonathan, Goatsy, Davo, Linda, GNC, Nano the aquarium guy. And that is all that is in chat with me tonight. So if anybody so far has any questions, if anybody, I wish we had done it in reverse, and then people could have been more prepared for some questions or anything like that. But I'm also here to help with your own personal tanks and stuff like that. It's been nice not to have to worry about a show or anything. This past weekend, we had our annual auction for the Pasco Aquarium Club. We ended up bringing a bunch of plants. I ended up bringing home some Daphnia shrimp, spread them out to a couple of the planted ponds out back. And Shelby got a really cool aquarium kind of themed, oh my God, thermos cup that was laser sketched by one of our club members. We ended up coming home with a bunch of koi food from the silent auction that was donated by one of the sponsors for the auction. And besides that, I didn't come home with any fish or anything like that. So we were well behaved, and it's been one of those relieving weekends. We haven't really had much to worry about, much to do. I cleaned out and tore down the final aquarium that, well, not the final one, but the final one that's like immediate that I want to get done as soon as possible. I already have it sold and out of the garage, actually. And then on Wednesday, the remaining of the tanks that I want to get rid of will be gone. And then I'll be able to kind of move some things around in the garage and turn it into like an aquascape studio. This is something we've been talking about and wanting to do now for a really, really long time. However, it's just been really hard. Shelby got a job, and they sent us a bunch of rock, and then we go to these shows, and we come home with aquariums and tank, or that's the same thing, filters and all sorts of other woods and stuff like that. So the garage has just been piling up more and more, and it's not like hoarding bad, but it's to the point where we can't really have like really nice designated areas to aquascape. I've already gone through and pretty much thrown away all of the junk that I know I'll never use anymore because we're more efficient. or giving it away at the swap meets. So it's down to like just the good filters and the stuff that we want to use for setting up aquascapes and whatnot in the future. So it's just now getting rid of the stand that holds a 29 gallon or two 29s and a 20 long. I have to get rid. I still have a 55 gallon in stand for sale, but that's like the cheapest tank. The stand is free. I should be able to post that on one of like our local groups on Facebook, and that'll probably be gone that same day. So I've quite comfortable that the garage will get 90% of the way done this week. And from there, I'll be able to give Shelby plenty of space to do her artwork and videos and stuff like that. So really looking forward to that. So the first question is, GNC Aquatics will flourish affect your shrimp? So almost all fertilizers on the market are going to be okay for shrimp. There's a couple of them that have really high doses of copper, but even shrimp need copper in their diet in very, very small amounts. So there's enough people out there that are using Flourish that don't have really any issues with their shrimp. But to just kind of be on the cautious side, there are plenty of shrimps. Bless you. Plenty of shrimp safe fertilizers out there. The one that I recommend is the Thrive shrimp variety. You hear mommy or something? That one we tested in our own aquariums. Worked with Colin to get out the right formula, and it's been proven on the market for a very long time. We carry the Plamsky Lush. We're out of the smaller bottles, and we only have the bigger bottles. I don't plan on bringing that back in. We don't really sell fertilizer, since I don't really use fertilizers. We sell a lot of the stuff that I use, right? And I think it sells because we use it. We preach about it, and I don't use fertilizer in any of the aquariums that you see behind me. It's just water changes, the aqua soil, and feeding the shrimp, and that's basically all the nutrients for the plants. Do you want her? Yeah. There you go. So, the Flourish and XL combo, XL can create some issues, and eventually an overdose of XL and Flourish combined will definitely wipe out some shrimp. But if you use it to the recommended amount, it shouldn't be an issue as long as you stay on top of your water changes. How's it going, Scotty? How's it going, Frogs and Fish and More? All right, better side hustle, single species of aquatic plant or single line of Neo. Honestly, it's easier to sell shrimp than it is to sell plants, I feel like. You could do a single line of the green shrimp and probably do really good off of that. But there are like single species of aquatic plant. If I could pick one that would outsell the green jade, I just can't think of one off the top of my head. I mean, we sell a lot of red root floaters, we sell a lot of mosses and stuff like that, but we sell a lot more Neos. So me personally, I would do Neos over aquatic plants. There's a reason why we're setting up more shrimp tubs and not more. Well, I guess we did a couple plant tubs, but I'm in the process of setting up a lot more shrimp tubs. Yeah, and Chesapeake said Neos for sure, but I'm sure if I put more thought into that, I could pick a plant that would do better. But I feel like green Neocaridina pond, green emeralds, the ocean blues. That ocean blue pond has outsold any of the plants that we've sold in the whole year for sure. Do you have a huge mosquito problem with all those totes? It's Florida. There's mosquitoes all over the place. I don't notice mosquitoes around my house. When we go out and we go collecting, we go fishing or whatever, it's the same thing, right? I'm trying to think of other things that we do just out by the water, right? There's way, way more mosquitoes. So I feel like in my area, there's not really that many mosquitoes, and around my house there isn't any more than there is like down the street or anything like that. How's it going, my fish tanks, aquatics? How's it going, Craig? Who is the most talented aquascaper in the Eater home? I got to give that to Shelby. She's definitely taken off with it and run with it. And I realized that heavily when I was doing the tanks in the fluval booth for Global Pet Expo. All of the rock that I gotten in those hardscapes were like, I just was like, I wish Shelby was here to do it. I was happy with the outcome, but I think it took me probably twice as long as it probably would have taken Shelby to throw together. And in the end, Shelby's probably would have looked a little bit nicer. How's it going, Christy? Hey, passing wind. What should the temperature be outside to try and raise shrimp in small tubs outside? So I wouldn't worry about temperatures. I would worry about if your tubs are frozen at all. They're not going to do much breeding outside if the temperatures are under 60, but they'll still be fine. They'll still get acclimated and adapting to your water parameters. And when it does warm up, it'll be ready. I didn't pull that up. I'm sorry. And that'll be ready to get going once the warmer temperatures hit. For us, I know I'm about ready to put fish outside, but where you live, I know there's a couple people that are trying to keep shrimp outside all year round. There's a couple different ways to make sure your tubs don't freeze all the way through, but if you're able to achieve that, then you never really have to bring them inside. I'm talking with somebody right now in Canada, and chances are they're probably going to have to move them inside, right? But there's got to be ways to heat the tubs with like a stock heater or something like that they use for like cattle. How's it going, Big Shrimpin'? Do I use anything for mosquito control for those tubs? So the shrimp tubs themselves don't need anything for the mosquito control, because the mosquito control essentially is the actual bubbles creating surface tension on the water. If you have enough rippling, the mosquitoes can't use their snorkel to breathe. And as long as you've got enough bubbles going or the filter going strong enough, anyways, you won't have any of the mosquitoes being an issue. We have more of an issue of them in our tubs where I don't have any of the bubblers going, like in the turtle tubs. But I just do massive water changes on them, so the actual larvae don't really ever get a chance to morph and grow up, especially in the colder climate. They take longer to grow up. And then as soon as it warms up, there's going to be guppies in those tubs anyways. And I think I'm almost just going to pull back on any more guppy strains. I know Shelby just got one, and we've got a couple of different varieties already, and we'll probably keep those going. But I'm more of a fan of the rice fish. The mountain cloud minnows are another cool one. And then I even had some celestial pearl danios survive outside. So I don't know which, or I don't know why I keep creating so much work for me every year having to move stuff around inside just to bring stuff inside every single year, and then have to bring it back out and clean all the tubs out and everything. It's a big mess. Where the rice fish tubs are just super easy. I don't move the mountain cloud minnows around at all, but I probably should and see if I get any babies popping out of those. How's it going, Jaded? And then thank you, GNC, for getting everybody to hit the like button. There's 45 of us and only 11 likes. It definitely helps get more people involved. There's now 53 people watching, so I need some shrimp questions here. I haven't given away any free foods yet, so I need a good shrimp question. Feel free to use Google. The better the question, the better the reward. My tanks were good, but you would have done a better job, Shelby. You really would have. Oh, Alex sent the horde over. Oh, thank you, Alex. Appreciate that. We were actually watching you right before I jumped on. I don't know if the mosquito fish are shrimp safe, and I don't know if I can count this as a stumped question or not. Maybe it's good enough. I'll give you. Email us at the Garden of Eater, and maybe somebody else can answer this in the chat for me. But you'll get a free ultra fresh shrimp food, and we just need your address, and we'll send that over to you. But I don't trust the mosquito sprays and stuff like that because they're not testing that stuff out with like shrimp in mind. Maybe they are because we have the ghost shrimp all over the place here in Florida, but like the whole sprays outside and everything like that they used to do, I don't know if they still do it. I haven't seen them do it in a very long time, but I would, in rather than using the mosquito dunks, I would personally rather just put an air stone and an air bubbler on the thing. You can get the solar panel powered ones, and just during the day have it running, and it should kill off the mosquitoes every day. They won't be able to breathe. Shelby is used to things looking good. I mean, all she has to do is observe in a mirror. See, not everything you say is sketchy and shouldn't be on screen. Some things are good. Do you bring all your fish in? No. I meant to bring all the CPDs inside, but I had them in 2 ponds outside, and in both of the ponds, one got left behind, or a baby. I moved them way earlier than November. So maybe perhaps they had babies and just one survived. The eggs didn't get eaten by shrimp, or the parents didn't eat the baby or something like that, and it grew up and I didn't catch it. But they stayed outside. The mountain cloud minnows have been outside now for I think 3 or 4 years, and I've had rice fish outside now for a couple of years also. I'm sorry. Everybody else is sick. I hope I'm not getting it either. I think it's just dry. I got the fan on. I thought I turned it off. You save any monsters recently? No, I don't think so. We were just down in the Everglades, and there was a turtle that was blind, and I was going to save it and bring it back home, but the amount of stress and everything like that I think it would have taken by the time it would have gotten home, I don't think it would have made it. It was already bad off. I don't think it survived much longer than it did, or than when I last saw it. But I always have a soft spot in my heart for blind animals. Deaf animals. That's why we got a deaf dog. Is 25 high quality shrimp your typical starting bin size? So for the shrimp outside and all of my tubs, it pretty much was, mainly just because that's how big my quality stock was when I was ready to move them outside. And I did the whole thing where I didn't want to throw all my eggs in one basket. So I left some of them inside. I moved some of them outside, and they ended up doing really, really good outside. So then I used what was inside I kind of split it again and started more tubs outside. So it's around 25, but I would say, like, when we started the yellow tub outside right next to the other yellow, I probably threw 100 of them in there maybe. So it just depends on how many shrimp we have on hand. I'll probably throw like 50 to 100 ocean blues into the next tub that I start with those. But we probably did 25 to 40 blue velvets that we just started outside 6 months ago, maybe a half a year ago. Shelby caught the biggest garland in the Everglades also. All right, Shelby's got a question. How to tell a shrimp has died from a molt issue versus old age? I know the answer. I'm asking for frequent questions. I see online pages. So most of the time, it's a molt issue, because you can see pretty much two things, right? You'll see that the shrimp is actually still stuck in the molt. It'll have either like part of the molt is hanging on it or off of it, or its antenna are kind of like shrunk up in the molt, and its nose will start to go up in its face, and it's what you kind of imagine when a fat man is in a little jacket, right? Um, and then the other one is there'll actually be like a little dissection from the head and the body. And those are like the major signs that you can tell that it's actually from molting, versus old age or just its natural time to die, right? You usually know if it's your fault. It is something you have to catch relatively early, because if the shrimp starts to decay, the other shrimp will jump on it, eat it quickly, and you won't be able to tell if it was that issue or not. You'll also see the shrimp kind of like struggling. They're stuck in like a V position. They'll be a little hunchback too, even sometimes. So you definitely want to make sure they're getting a proper diet and a good amount of water changes, and you won't have that issue. How's it going, the Shrimp Father? Great name. Johnny Best coming in with the one gifted membership. If you did happen to get that membership, please email us at thegardenofeater@gmail.com. Send us your name and address, and we will send you an all-exclusive holographic TGOE sticker, as well as a 10% off code to our website, tgoeshrimp.com. It is also Easter week. I need to go through the website pretty much first thing tomorrow morning. I'll make that on my agenda list, and update. And we'll probably do like a short video or something like that tomorrow with the Easter code for a little Easter sale this week. What do you or how do you prevent dragonfly larvae in the tubs? I hate dealing with nets across the top. So I use nets across the top. It's just the easiest way, right? I don't really have to worry about that in the greenhouse, because the greenhouse prevents any of the dragonfly from getting in there. For us, all of our IBC totes are all down one line, right? They're all next to each other. They're all in a row. And what I'm able to do is I buy the privacy fence screen, and I just lay it across the top of them. They've got the little eye hooks on them, and I use zip ties on one side to secure it in place. That way it never goes anywhere. And then on the other side, I pretty much just use clamps, so that way it kind of weighs it down. And then when I need to feed, I can flip it up and over, and I'm able to have access to the tubs, able to catch shrimp out of them and stuff like that. And when I'm done, I just flip it back. And then when we have like a hurricane or a bad windstorm or something like that, I'll go outside and I'll actually clamp all the clamps to one of the metal bars of the IBC totes. And I find that super efficient. It's really easy. It's a pain. It's kind of like the lids. You got to move all the lids to feed the shrimp. I'm probably going to lose. Oh, no, we're good. We're good. I saved it. Thought I was going to lose the net on top of the tank there. But it's annoying. But what I do is I make it a habit as I'm walking out to the greenhouse, I flip all of the screen over so that way I get to the greenhouse, I get to the shrimp food, I pop it open, I walk down the line and I feed everything. And then when I'm leaving, I flip all the lid back over. So I'm not really making any extra trips. And I find that the most efficient way for us. Yes, we did our taxes. It's easy for us to do our taxes because we do our sales taxes every single month. And then I made it a habit this year to get my taxes done early because last year I kind of slacked on it with the whole insurance thing. I know Shelby doesn't want to hear that no more. We're over it. It's beyond us, but that was part of the reason why I slacked on it last year, and I wanted to get it done early this year so we can figure out where we're at and what projects we can get done and accomplish. And the studio is definitely what's going to happen next. I wanted to landscape fabric and weed blocker the whole backyard so that way we could do more plant bins. But I think what we have now is enough until I add more species of plants. And I don't think I'm going to be adding that many plants. I blocked off another part of the backyard and we'll utilize that. But if I don't fully fill out that this year, then there was no point in me doing that to the entire backyard. I do want to get the other tubs plumbed though and get them going so that way I can have more shrimp breeding tubs and maybe do some wholesale next year. Our green beans, a good replacement for zucchini for ghost shrimp and ram's horn snails. A good replacement, yes. Green beans, I believe, have more nutrition in them than zucchini. But there's a lot better foods out there that you could be feeding your ghost shrimp and ram's horn snails. But they're just ghost shrimp and ram's horn snails. So green beans are probably a good cheap option. I know you can buy like the really bulk containers. I saw a smorgasbord of those at Greg Sage's house in Colorado because he feeds all of those bristlenose plecos that he has. And I just I don't use any of that stuff myself. I like the commercial foods. I feel like they're a lot cleaner, make less of a mess, less dirty water. But it's a good replacement. Is there anyone that has ever claimed hybrids between Caradina and Caradina? Yes. Mopo, a German breeder, stood behind another, I think it was German also, another breeder in Germany, and they claimed that they crossed Aurora Blue Tigers with some type of Neo, I think. And the outcome just looked like what I get when I cross Aurora Blue Tigers and like a bee shrimp or a crystal shrimp. And there wasn't anything like oddly different structured to it. It wasn't like in the middle of a Neocaridina or a Caridina. And I think they got a lot of flack for it. And there's not really much trace of them left in the hobby. I think last year Bo made like one post or something like that, but I think it really dampened their reputation because instead of them like assuming that maybe a shrimp jumped ship or something like that, they didn't rule that out and they just jumped to that conclusion. And it wasn't like a pairing, it was just something that popped up in their tank. There wasn't any definite proof of it, but there hasn't been a legitimate claim of them crossing. Yeah, the mosquito fish definitely are savages. Uh, they're an aggressive fish for sure. All right, so there's definitely some different variations to the Neocaridina eyes. Are they the same as the orange-eyed shrimp, like the orange-eyed blue tigers? They definitely weren't crossed with orange-eyed blue tigers, but it is possible that they can get a mutation very similar. There are zero of these actual strains in the United States. Almost all of them are from like one breeder, and then it almost looks like really good AI, like enhanced work on the eyes to make them look like that. Most of them are just photos. There's not a lot of video. I can't remember if there is actually, there is videos of them, but like, here's my thing. Almost all of them are coming out as golden eye neocaridina, and if you look closely, the pupils are still black. And if I go into my tubs, especially the low grades, I'll find white eyes with black pupil neocaridina in a lot of my tubs, and I never thought of that to be anything special. However, it's kind of just taken off in popularity in recent years. But I don't consider it like an actual orange eye mutation or an orange eye uh, variation that I would want to go after. And they're asking like $200 a piece for them. And until I see another home breeder that I trust here in the United States with them, I'm not going to risk spending that much money to try and bring them over. So, how good is green leaf shrimp on eating algae? Is it much different from a mono? So here's the thing about shrimp and eating algae, right? They don't eat healthy growing algae. They only eat dead, dying off algae. Anything that's dying and decaying, shrimp will eat it. So if you're doing your water changes and your algae loses all of its nutrients and starts to die off, then your shrimp are going to eat it as it's dying off. But if it's got plenty of nutrients and it's growing and thriving, it's actually not going to get eaten by any of your shrimp and can be an issue for your shrimp itself. I'm not sure what shrimp, if any of them would actually eat like and actually compete with healthy growing algae at all to make any of it a difference. I've seen a couple of breeders online get the Pinocchio shrimp or the red nose shrimps and post entire tank full of algae or Cladophora, as I probably think it is. And in a week later, they're like, "Oh, look how much it ate," and there's maybe like that much of a section like missing on the tank. And then after that, they don't post anymore because that section that they ate probably was just like moved over to the side when they put the shrimp into it, or it was just overgrown as soon as they put the shrimp in. They did a water change, some of it died off, and the shrimp ate some of it when they did the water change. But with a bad algae issue, shrimp are never going to be the solution, sadly. Like, you would think that I would be preaching that it would sell so much shrimp if it was the case, but it's not the case. Here's a question: I am interested in keeping some Sulawesi caridina shrimp. Dying, I'm sorry. What plants would you recommend for the tank? I wouldn't recommend any plants. I would recommend that you stock the tank with a bunch of. I'm sorry, my throat. It's really dry right now, and I can't get the fan to turn off. I don't know why. But the tank should have a good amount of limestone or base rock in it. And then on top of that, I like to keep rabbit snails in all of my shrimp tanks or all my Sulawesi tanks. And when you do that, you end up with a good working relationship between the two. The shrimp kind of use the rabbit snails as like an alert system. And when the snails are out and about, then the shrimp will be more frequent and less shy, and will even ride the snails around. They'll come out more when you actually feed them. Without rabbit snails in the tank, I was feeding the shrimp and never see them come out at all. I had some ram's horn snails maybe in there, and they would eat the food, and that was it. But as soon as I put the rabbits, they're out and about. I would see them more. They're less shy. They're still one of those shrimp that as soon as the net hits the water, they all kind of like scatter and they hide because they know something's coming for them. So rather than plants, I would recommend rabbit snails, and you can't do plants with rabbit snails because the rabbit snails like to eat plants. You can do some like really hardy Anubias and Boos and stuff like that. I've had a crip, just a solo crip, survive in one of my Sulawesi tanks for a very long time, but it never grew a single leaf. Any of the new leaves that grew, the rabbit snails would just eat it. So eventually those old leaves died off, and the crypt was just a rhizome pretty much. But that's not what it is, right? I don't know. Just a root stub. How can I talk to my shrimp about their drinking problem? You can try sign language. They're really good at that. I don't think mosquito dunks only target mosquito larvae. They say they are safe for horse water, though, but I wouldn't. Yeah, it's one of those things where I wouldn't want to drink out of that. I wouldn't want, like, maybe they wouldn't affect the population to where they're going to kill the adults, but maybe they affect the uh, breeding baby survival rate. Like, instead of 90%, you're only going to get 70 because 20 of them are too weak to survive the poison that's killing off the mosquitoes, right? So I don't know. I wouldn't use them. A little bubbler works really well. They're supposed to be, there's a lot of different things that are like supposed to be safe. Somebody recommended a mosquito stick for us to use for our house, and on it says it had to be like 50 feet away, especially if you're pregnant or you have a baby, and like something like that. I don't want that around me. I'd rather get rid of the mosquitoes with natural ways. Are there any shrimp that can handle high pH and KH? I live in Texas and on a well. Even with a water softener, it's still hard. Yeah, straight well water, you should be able to keep your Neocaridina shrimp no problem. I would avoid using the water softener. The water softener might actually take out all of the good minerals that the shrimp need to molt, and you can't really overdose it, right? You can overdose their diet with too much calcium, but I don't think you can overdose the water. I really, after seeing some of the water tests and hearing some of the people here in Florida that have some really crazy high water total dissolved solids, I'm thinking the Neocaridinas are the ultimate hard water shrimp. Just because the Sulawesi shrimp like the hard water doesn't mean they're easy. They don't like fluctuation. They have to have something in there to keep that pH exactly stable, and the temperatures also. Yeah, I want to put one in my aquarium for sure. The mosquito dunks are apparently, whatever that is, a naturally occurring bacteria found in soil and is said to be safe for fish, pets, and humans. But who knows if that's for, it's the same for invertebrates. Also, is that going to be good for the bacteria in my sponge filters and stuff like that? So, but I never see mosquito larvae in the shrimp tubs. Do you have any tips to grow shrimp a bit larger? I noticed same size difference between some neocolor. I noticed some size difference between some Neocaridina varieties. So the ones that get the back lines tend to get a little bit bigger. I would say about centimeter on average, larger for full-grown adults. Growing them up in a larger tank, growing them up in hotter water with more food, doing larger water changes, more frequent water changes. All of those things are going to help grow your shrimp out a little bit bigger and a little bit larger. But the Florida sun does wonders. Keeping it outside under those UVB rays, whatever it is, I would always um, I would always take that. There's not going to be anything better to grow them faster than the sun outside. All right. Trying to catch up in chat now. I'm 16 minutes behind. I'm a full Rico behind. Our magnolia leaves okay for shrimp. I have a ton around my place. So the only thing about magnolia leaves or collecting leaves is going to be the sprays and pesticides and stuff like that that people could be using in your area. I know when I was collecting leaves for Josh's frogs, they had something in there that I couldn't collect any of the leaves within 5 miles of an orange grove because the orange groves, the sprays could travel that far. It'd be a problem. So you just got to think about things like that. I will take leaves off of my banana trees out back just because I know I don't spray anything in my backyard. I've got these ginormous bushes that pretty much go around my entire backyard. And if you like saw my neighbors, none of them are growing oh my god, fruits and vegetables or anything like that. None of them have gardens, so I don't think any of them are spraying pesticides or anything like that. But what we did was we took all of the leaves, stacked them heavily in like a 5-gallon bucket, and then put a bunch of test shrimp in the tank to make sure that those were all right before we used the leaves. So you can try that out, but and see if there's any like film on top or anything like that when you boil it. But the magnolia leaves are okay. It's just, why are you adding leaves to the tank? They're just going to break down and be an issue. Just feed them some good foods. Do you think that all calcium supplements are kind of snake oil / overused? I have plenty of soft water with low pH GHKH, but my snails and shrimp are all looking great without. So there's different ways to keep and take care of your aquariums. People have different water parameters as well. You say you have pretty soft water, but how soft is that? Without me knowing your numbers, there's no real way for me to tell. Also, what are you feeding them? Are you feeding them a lot of spinach and foods that are high in calcium? Then they can be getting their calcium source there. Have you had a net inspect your shells? Because she'll find little nicks and dings on the shell that you never even thought were there. So you never know what you could be missing out, or your snail shells could be looking a little bit different or better. But I know for me, our Sulawesi tanks are hard water. They are a constant, very stable, very trusting tanks. I know that the supplements and whatnot that I was using before should have been more than efficient for my snails, and they were. I was getting okay shells when you compare them to the shells that come in from the importers, and they're all melted and they have holes in them, and it's not a good looking shell, right? But when I started feeding Grant's, the other Grant, Crawfish Empire's calcium chips, I noticed more babies, so maybe higher baby survival rate. I noticed that they were growing faster. I noticed that their shells looked even better. Oh man, Shelby, can you give me a water, please, if you're watching, and a tissue? I don't know. Everything's coming at me now. So I do know that there's people out there that don't do frequent water changes. There's people out there that don't do a good feeding regimen and stuff like that. And they would greatly benefit from using these calcium supplements. But there's other people out there that are doing water changes and feeding great, and there's no need for them to use it. Hold on, guys. I'll be right back. All right, I got lucky. There's tissues right there on the table. Didn't go too far. So, wondering if there's an overemphasis on calcium. There is, but it's mainly for people that don't have a good amount of calcium in their water source. Have you seen immune or molting issues increase in high-grade carotene due to genetic bottlenecks from extreme selective breeding? Now I have the hiccups. I can't catch a break. So I have not, and I've been talking about this for a while. I'm going to keep inbreeding and crossbreeding my F1s to F1s and so on until I get two-headed shrimp. I think that if you are okay with like leaving poor condition shrimp in your tanks just because they look and have a nice pattern, then you're going to be dealing with those poor conditions over and over again. There's been a couple of shrimp that had short skirt, and man, did they have a cool pattern. Or maybe I had a purple one, I think. And yeah, I wanted to cross that and breed that out to get more of those colors. But in the end, it would have hurt the livestock because almost, I don't know, I can't say almost all, but a good amount of the babies going on moving forward are going to have that issue. And you'll probably always have that issue if you're breeding from stock that has deformities like that. So I think if you're breeding for quality, healthy shrimp first, and then breeding for pattern and quality of color and stuff like that second, you won't run into that issue. And that, I think that's the practice that I keep, and it does really well for us. Aaron Armstrong with the $10 Australian donation. Do you use lids on the indoor tanks? If so, what do you use? Did I drop the... No, I didn't. It's on the other tank. All right. I was like, I did drop the lid. I jinxed myself. I dropped the net in the tank. So I use double polycarbonated panels. We get these very cheap from our local hardware department stores. They're not available in the actual Home Depot itself. I have to order it online and they ship it to store. But we do have a video on how we make the lids and cut them. But they're pretty cheap. I think for us, I get a 4-foot by 8-foot sheet for around $100. And I'm able to make 20 perfect lids or like 25 almost perfect lids. Like there's a little gap in the front to get your finger in there and lift it up the feed or whatever if you wanted on those. I prefer to make like 20 perfect lids, and then I use the other pieces for like scrap. Eventually, maybe I'll make a 2-piece sliding system out of the other pieces or something like that to make some perfect lids and just discard the extra scrap pieces. But heading into winter, you're definitely going to see a lot more evaporation, and it'll help keep them a little bit warmer with the little greenhouse effect, especially keeping the lights on during the day. That's a good way to heat your tanks, especially for us in the garage. Having the first tanks by the front door of the garage, keeping those heated with the lids on them helps keep the entire garage heated during the winter. So we're able to keep like the guppies and stuff in the 10-gallon tanks without having to heat all of them. And it's really nice to keep the fish inside during the wintertime. But yeah, I'm sorry I made you wait that long. I thought I was going to get to it a lot sooner. There's a lot of questions in between yours and when it first dropped. Is there a book you can recommend that focuses on shrimp water chemistry in depth? No, there is not a book that I would recommend. I haven't come across one that I think is worth spending money on, especially when all of this information is out here free on the YouTube itself already. Um, and the best thing though is try not to do like a little bit of something I do and a little bit of something someone else does and a little bit of something else does and have success. I would pick one, stick with one, get some success, and then start tweaking in other directions and make your own method and stuff like that. Probably find the method that works the best and sounds the best to you, and try to stick with it and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, then try somebody else's method. There's definitely more than one way to get to your destination, but there's not a lot of good reading material on shrimp. There's a lot of good information though. I think on my YouTube channel, and water chemistry I think is a topic we've covered more than once on our live streams. So Alex says hi. You're the only one that participated in the hashtag. I haven't seen anybody else with it. Oh wait, no, there's Alex. Alex, how you doing? I miss you coming and doing your trips to Florida, man. Hopefully you've got another one in the future or something like that. Um, but yeah, thank you for sending everybody my way. I appreciate that. My shrimp like the Northfin carnivore wafers and Northland. Yeah, they love the wafers. The problem with the wafers is usually most of them are a little bit too big in size. I'm not familiar with the Northfin ones off the top of my head. Did you discuss substrate with Greg Sage? So he doesn't have substrate in any of his aquariums. He uses pots for some of his plants, and then he has a lot of bulbitis. So we kind of discussed like his bulbitis grows in no substrate. So there was substrate discussion, but probably not the discussion you're thinking about. When he was at my house, maybe we had some discussion about like the shrimp substrates and stuff like that, but I don't think it came up. How do you manage mitochondrial drift and caridina lines over their generations? I answered that, right? Because I don't know what that word means, and I'm going to have to look it up. I think it's okay. I'm assuming it's what I already talked about. If it's something totally different, then you will win. Small double membrane or granules found in almost all your cells. Fungi. Not reading all of this. I just sound like an idiot trying to. Yeah. So I don't think there is any drift in caridina lines over their generations with that. There's a thing with you have and here's the answer to this question, right? You start with 50 of an animal. And as long as you have 50 of them, you won't have any issues with genetics. As long as you have a colony of 50, that is the magic number. Obviously, starting with 20 or 25 of my recommendation, that's just what I have. But by then, the populations have multiplied and multiplied and multiplied. And if you're starting with 50 and then all the generations came from me in the first place, I don't think you have an issue. So I think as long as your actual breeding population stays over 50, then you won't have any of your lines drifting in the wrong genetic mutation or starting to throw bad traits or something like that. If you just asked me the question of what was mitochondrial, I'm probably not even saying that right. You would have got something. Should I change water or don't change water during the 10-gallon, 30 nitrogen cycle process? So I usually like to change my water at least once during my cycle process. Sometimes it's like 2 weeks in, sometimes it's a week before I add my shrimp in. But either way, I like to do it 1 to 2 weeks before I stock the tank with shrimp, just to make sure that the actual tank itself can survive doing a water change and not without crashing the cycle. How's it going, Bugsy? How's it going, Johnny Best? I don't know if I said hi. When setting up a new tank for shrimp, should I do water changes? Oh, I just answered this. All right. Answering double questions here. But it's all good. And Johnny Best with the gifted membership. I think I shouted that out earlier. If that's not if that's a different one, I apologize. You just let me know. I'll tell you thanks again. But hopefully, whoever got that membership emailed us, and we'll get you guys hooked up. Malala shrimp are a good one for the planted tanks for Sulawesi. Also, Valsinaria from Lake Tanganyika will survive in high pH. Bobitis, yeah, those plants will do great. The Anubias also does great, but it's more the actual rabbit snails themselves. And I try to stay away from Valsinaria in my shrimp tanks because they will tend to uproot, or not uproot, but send runners, and it'll kind of take up the whole tank. And when you need to uproot it to manage it, you can create issues, especially in a Sulawesi tank. I don't want to mess with any of the substrate in there whatsoever. I'm not sure if the rabbit snails could keep up with it or not. I guess it would depend on how many rabbit snails you started with and how many Valsinaria you start with, right? I just got my first Caridina tank. I have the black Minashi females and blue bolt males. Have you tried to breed these before? So we've created our own Nanashi from scratch. I've gotten some off of Rico Nico before. Crossing them with blue bolts is kind of going in the wrong direction, but it's still a fun cross to do with Caridina. You're going to get tie bees no matter what. So if you're looking for black and blue Nanashis, it's one way to do it. Hey, Grant, I've been debating on my next red cherry shrimp only tank to replace a 40-gallon breeder. I mean, red cherries are always in high demand, and I don't think we have enough red cherries shrimp tanks ourselves personally. So if the answer is more red cherry shrimp tanks, then I say yes. Bobitis planters do best in high or low pH. So plants. So I have a Bobitis longtails doing really well in very high pH in one of the Sulawesi tanks that don't have Sulawesi shrimp in it right now. It's the old one. It was switched over to shell dwellers. And now I just have it currently holding some plants to see if they do better in high pH or low pH. And right now they're doing about the same in both tanks. I think as long as you have good lights on them and good nutrients and water care, then they're going to do just fine. So I don't have any preference. Same with the Anubias. The Anubias does great in the tanks in the garage. It does great in the tanks inside with the Caridina shrimp. It's a slow grower regardless. I think Bobitis, Java ferns, aeroids in general, they're not really picky. Where our crypts, they do way better in harder water. That's for sure. The crinium does better in the harder water. There's a few plants that do better in the harder water, but some of them, most of them do really well in both. So Shrimp Envy has the bigger packets, so you don't have to just get the 35 grams. They have the breeder packs, the 200 gram. They have a 500-gram bag as well. So you should look into it. It's what we feed our shrimp, and it's a lot of bang for your buck. It really is. What about my super chat? I got to it, right? I'm so far behind in chat now. Oh man. I'm still a little over a full Rico. I'll try to catch up. How how my TDS is about 60 to 80. I think last time I used the liquid test, GH and KH was 1. But I assumed it's just food. I feel like I feed a good variety. So your measurements are probably off one way or another. Um, how you clean your test tubes is very important. If you're not using RO water to clean out your test tubes, there's going to be a little bit of residue left in there and giving you false readings moving forward. So you definitely want to look into cleaning out your test tubes and maybe making sure your test kit is not like expired or really old or something like that. As long as the water isn't below 6.4 pH, their shells should remain solid on most inverts. In my experience, the center spiral tightness and the light translucency of shell can tell you all a lot too. Yeah, I see a little bit of issues with the more delicate snails, like the bladderhorn, not the bladderhorn, the bladder snails and the pond snails. Those are real soft shells, and I think even in 6.5, or I mean 6.7 pH, they kind of just melt. I don't have a lot of them in my tanks, and those are like the nuisance ones. You would think they'd be everywhere. Can I have Danio with ghost shrimp in one tank? I mean, yeah, they're just ghost shrimp. It depends on the Danio, though. The celestial pearl Danios are small enough. There are some larger Danios, like the leopard Danios, could eat some of the smaller shrimp for sure, but they shouldn't be a problem. And then I think she's saying, or he's saying, thank you to Alex for helping out with the snail questions. I bought 15 pounds of food grade calcium carbonate powder, so I have a lifetime supply for my aquarium. That's crazy. Johnny Best. I know all these people have the best trees in their yards. Oh, you were talking about the magnolia trees. I need to read these more before I pull them up. I'm trying to catch up. That's what happens when I'm rushing. Now people are asking Alex question. If you're here, Alex, you just jump on with me. Are oak leaves not good? Oak leaves are fine. Oak leaves are quite popular in the hobby. I'm just not a fan of leaves in general myself. So short skirt is definitely something that you should not let pass down to the later generations. It's very frowned upon in competition. These shrimp should not be genetically passed down. Short skirt, long rostrum is my favorite cake song. How's it going? Yeah, lots of work to be done. I understand that. There's never enough hours in the day. Can shrimp sleep upside down? No, but I've seen shrimp lay on their backs for quite some time. I've seen shrimp grab duckweed from the top of the tank and kind of just glide all the way down on their back and just kind of graze on it and eat it. And there's been shrimp that kind of just chill on their backs and hang out. So, but you can see them moving. But the shrimp don't really sleep. The lids are made of high core. I ended up putting handles on mine because they're a pain to lift with one hand. Yeah, yeah. Papa Shrimp, how's it going? I will have some updates from or for you for the Aquashella Shrimp Contest later this week. I need a headshot and like a short bio of you if you want to judge the shrimp contest in Dallas next month. Speaking of the shrimp contest, registration is open. There is a limited amount of entries available. We're only doing 30 tanks. We have a new sponsor, Aqua L, and we are moving forward with their little shrimp tank setups, and restocking the contest with 100 tanks is just not logical. We've been averaging around 24 to 35 tanks, so 30 is a good right in the middle number anyways. So I would jump on to registering the shrimp contest. I had a bunch of people that are thinking about starting to sell shrimp soon reach out to me. I think they got the hint on last week's live stream that reputation is huge, and having award-winning shrimp is definitely a good selling point. And if you're thinking of even making a little side money, having having those awards will help you sell more. That is for sure. So we got more people coming in. It's just me. I'm just slow in chat. Is there a Caridina shrimp that can be kept with others that won't inbreed? I set up a Caridina cube tank and my wife would like more than a single type of shrimp in there. Yes. Raccoon shrimp are one of my favorites, followed by Stardust. If you can get your hands on Galaxy Tigers, actual wild type Galaxy Tigers and Leopard Tigers, those are other ones. But on hand, the easily most readily available shrimp out there on the market are the Stardust and the Raccoon shrimp. These are not able to breed. Another one is the Super Princess Bees, but they're a very, very, very slow breeder, and I don't think anybody's bringing those in the United States anymore either. What is the chemical you mentioned to use for the Cladophora algae? That is the product called Razor. It is a liquid product from Brightwell. Make sure you are getting the freshwater version, not the saltwater. The molecular structure makeup of the bottle, or not the bottle, of the liquid is different for each one. Hey Grant, do any of the orange? Do you have any? No, we actually had just talked about that before your hashtag started popping up. No, I don't have any. Jay actually does. I'm waiting for him to breed some out. He's got some white ones. I mentioned where I have some of like the white eyes around like the black, but like those are all on my cull ponds. They're not that like rare to me. And most of the pictures you see online, if you take a look at the shrimp, if it doesn't look kind of photoshopped, it just kind of has a black pupil and it doesn't seem very special to me. So, have you noticed any infertile shrimp? My largest 24K yellow neo has been buried, but every single other adult female has never been buried, but every single adult female is. I am certain she is easy to distinguish from the other ladies. I have never noticed a female actually stop producing. Even my orange-eyed black tigers, my females that were 6 years old, and they were massive in size and still holding eggs. Um, and maybe passed away after they gave birth or something like that, because I never noticed them not holding eggs up until the day they passed. So, but I haven't noticed it in any of our ponds outside. When we're catching females, it's rare for us to catch a female that isn't pregnant. Like it's very, very hard outside. In the wintertime, not so much. Maybe you can find them, but during the summer, it's like every shrimp that's full grown is pretty much pregnant. You don't catch many males. Have you ever tracked any uh, methylation pattern changes that go with phenotypes regression across F4 or maybe later generation? Um, so I kind of just noticed that when a phenotype kind of changes direction, um, that I'll go down another road. But I never really get any regression. Like after F4, you never really end up going back to like Tangerine Tiger. Once you get all of the Tangerine Tiger genetics out of it, it's not like it just pops up out of nowhere and happens again. Once you get Tai bees, you don't really get Tai bees out of them. I've seen very, very few occasions where maybe you get a tie bee out of them, but it's not like really reverting back. It's they're still like high quality tie bee patterns to them, and I'm sure they have the genetics of the tie bees to pass down. Yeah, I'm trying to make the black and blue Nanashi. What other cool things can come from black Nanashi? You can make galaxy pintos from them. You could work on skunk patterns if you have the advanced Nanashi that have the back lines and stuff like that. But Nanashi Galaxy Tigers, those are kind of like the coolest things. You can go either for like more of the tooth pattern or more for like the fancy tiger look, depending on who you talk to. Uh, it's all opinionated. I prefer like the fancy tiger, the actual tiger stripe pattern over the little tooth, like broken square with a triangle in it. I have a question to all. I have a 400-liter tank which has over 500 shrimps and 1,000 trumpet snails. I have seen today there is some planaria. It will be a pain removing all the snails. How to get rid? Um, I wouldn't worry about the snails. I would just treat for the planaria, and don't overdose the planaria, and you shouldn't see too much die off with the snails. There's very little die off with my snails when I use no planaria. It's more of an issue when you use the dog dewormer, the fenbenzol. Yeah, that I caught you. That would be the best. Do the no planaria solution. Watch my video. You got to do it at nighttime to get the best results. Sorry, I'm not as efficient without Shelby here to go through and scan through all the comments that I don't need to read the chatter. Yeah, the I had mentioned before the zebra danios are not a good danio to keep with shrimp, but the celestial pearl danios are a little bit nicer, more forgiving. What qualifies as a short skirt? I'm not familiar with that one. So what it is basically if you think of the shrimp, it's where the what you would think of like a shrimp chin, and if it's like fully all the way down, you won't be able to see its gills, and that's a healthy skirt. However, if it's short and you can see like a white like tissue at all underneath the shrimp, then that's a short skirt. You got to be a little bit aware though, like with tiger shrimp, they naturally have a smaller skirt than a bee shrimp does. So you want to make sure that you don't remove all of your tiger shrimp thinking that they're all short skirt. But there's a significant difference though when it's short. You'll see a good amount of gills that are sticking out behind what the skirt should be covering. And most of the time you'll have one side will be perfectly fine and the other side will be short. Very rarely are both sides short. And there's a bit of an argument on this too. Some will say that it's genetic and that it could be passed down. There's others that say this is just something that happened when the shrimp was younger. It had a molting issue. It got over it though, and it's not affecting the life or the quality of the shrimp. So I don't have any short skirts that I know of in the house at all. Generally, I'll have a cull tank in the house somewhere, and I'll throw all of the short skirts in there. That was more so many years ago when I was buying new shrimp all the time, and you would find a line. Even some of the sellers would send you shrimp with short skirts, and I can understand if it's on a food pile and you caught it and it wasn't showing the short skirt that direction. You're catching a lot of shrimp in one day. It happens, but um, if you're doing proper water changes and good feeding, it shouldn't be something you see a lot. It does mainly occur in Caridina, but it is something that you have to look out for in Neocaridina. It's just very, very less likely for it to happen. Have you guys had any heritage shifts in non-coding RNA tied to phenotype? Man, you're just really trying to hit me with all the scientific terminology to try and stump me, so that way I I get stumped on a question. But no, we haven't had any shifts. But yeah, you're asking way too scientific of questions. But I'll give you a free thing of shrimp food. But from moving on forward, if I have to look up your scientific question, it's not good. I'm looking for, like, can I do shrimp like this? Can I keep shrimp like this? What do I do to make this shrimp, etc. Um, but yeah, if you want to ask that in basic English, it might be a better question for everybody else. Maybe Alex can break that down for me. Yeah, the Caridina cardinal shrimp, the Daenerys, those are the funnest ones to watch with the little white paws on them for sure. I'm back, been to work and back. Oh, missed you, Craig. You got any good questions from down under? I don't know why I didn't bring the tissues with me. Listening, doing the tank thing while playing. Your knowledge sharing is killing progress. Well, I'm happy to be able to kill time. Hopefully, you learned a thing or two. Is it bad for some of my neos swimmerettes stick out instead of tucking in? Um, I would need to see a picture of this to be exactly sure, because some of the shrimp are. Oh, you can't see it because of your question, right? So I gotta go down. Some of the shrimp are constantly doing this, right? Some of them are constantly fanning, and even when they don't have um, eggs in them, they'll like practice, or they'll still do it. And I've seen sometimes where they kind of just like hold them out and they just leave them open. I don't know if they're getting ready to drop eggs and her saddle's fertile or something like that, or what exactly that is. But now if they're inverted and like sticking out this way, thank you, then that's definitely a problem, and you probably had an issue molting, and I would get rid of that shrimp. Is it possible to make a reverse really? Yes, absolutely. Is it possible to make purple neos? Would any strain throw purple? So yeah, I believe in the future one day we will have purple shrimp. If you think back in the hobby, shrimp caridina, there wasn't purple 15 years ago. Now we have purples. It's a lot more common, right? So I've seen purple neocaridina. I just haven't gotten any of them to been able to breed and pass down their genetics or anything like that. Um, if I were to guess where purple neocaridina shrimp are going to come out of, I would say it's the red and blue body Rillies, or trying to cross Bloody Mary and Blue Dreams, or red and blue shrimp in general. I feel like that is the most simplest way to get purple shrimp. And once you have one that's kind of purple, it's selective breeding and throwing all of your efforts into making sure that none of the redder or too blue or maroon shrimp breed with the purples. How do you have it? Oh, do you have a favorite cull tank? So, yeah, my favorite cull tank is a 40-gallon Tang Tai tank. It is the oldest cull tank in the entire house. There's probably genetics from all of my original Caridina shrimp that I had ever gotten in that tank some way, right? Um, I've been breeding that tank for 10 years probably, and I've been throwing mostly Tang Tais and Tai Tai bees and Taiwan bees into that tank. But there's been a little bit of everything. And I try to sell all my Tang Tai out of that tank, and there's still a good amount of reds and yellows and blue steels and Tai Tai bees and pintos and all different things that come out of that tank. So it's like the perfect Skittles tank, in my opinion. And I cull it by selling out the orange tank ties out of it. So it's nice. Yeah, so I have some reverse really yellow King Kongs. Not enough to like make a colony and say that I've got them and working on them, but they're a thing. You can definitely do it. Yeah, Bloody Mary times Blue Dreams was my thought too. Yeah, it's one of the ones we've talked about in the future or in the past streams. 9 out of 10 times, you do end up getting like a really wild variety, or reallys or wild type variety. But that 1 out of 100 times you might get purples. I have a red and blue Neo tank, kind of like a really. Oh, I have a red and blue Neo, kind of like a really. Is that a thing people are making? Yeah. I use my original cross of red cherries and my last surviving blue velvet from an eBay purchase, threw together, and I was able to make red really blue bodies. No, none of these questions were silly. Maybe I retract that question and go back up to this Danky. That was silly. Too scientific, too nerdy of a question. And I'm a dork, but I'm not that big of a dork. If you were to go to any of my science teachers from high school, except for Mr. Berger, Mr. Berger might believe it. I had a in his marine biology class, so that kind of makes sense, right? But all the other ones, the one that taught me genetic squares, and the other one that taught chemistry, and went to all of them, and you said I am who I am with genetics with shrimp in the United States, they wouldn't believe you. They'd have to see a video proof of it first. How do Caridina regulate molting without us actually interfering? And also, do the pheromones stay in the water column? So, in theory, we could replicate that and make a product out of it. So, I don't know exactly how they regulate it without us interfering, but I do know it's just very similar to how reptiles grow, right? It's they're shedding their skin every single time they grow out of it, and it becomes an issue. If they didn't shed the skin, they would get stuck in their bodies, they wouldn't grow, and they would die. As babies, they're growing a lot faster, so they are um, going through and molting a lot frequently. So the first week they might molt 2 or 3 times, and then when they're a month old, they might be molting every week, and then every 2 weeks, and then when they're more full-grown adults, they molt on average about a every month. However, the older the shrimp gets, it's always going to grow. It's just not going to be growing as fast. So those molts over time will get further and further distance in time. And maybe a 4-year-old shrimp might only molt once every 2 months, but it's still going to be regulated on how much it's growing itself. And the pheromones will stay in the water column. If you don't do your water changes, those pheromones and hormones can stack up. And if, in theory, you could replicate it and make a product out of it, but why would you? I think that's more of a product that would do better off in breeding something that breeds in seasons, where shrimp will breed all year round. So the females are constantly going to be making those pheromones, and you wouldn't really make much money off of a product. I don't think it would make the shrimp breed anymore. I still can't believe you keep all of your line history in your head. When you said that at the Clash Talk, I was like, man, I got the memory of a vegetable. My memory is crap for everything else, though. Like, I can't remember faces and names very well. I remember icons and talking to people in stories. Like, if I pull up, if you talk to me in person and you say your name, I'll probably, after you leave, look up on my phone to see what we did talk about last in Facebook, and I'll be like, now I know exactly who that person is, right? And that'll click. But I've kind of used up all of my storing information in my brain to figure out where all of my animals and whatnot came from. I can't do it with the plants, but the shrimp, I definitely remember. I definitely just kind of have that recorded, and I think it's because I feed them a lot, and I just go up to the tank, and it's just like I think about where that shrimp has been and where it's going, and that's just kind of my thought process. So it's like a reminder every time I see the shrimp. If I disappeared from them for like a few months, maybe I'd forget a lot, but no, I pretty much know where all the original shrimp lines came from. There's probably some random names that I'll throw out in future streams of people that are like, I can't believe I'm still being talked about with shrimp. And it's like, it's because I got my shrimp from you. I actually had somebody buy like guppy grass or something off of us, and I was like, this is soothing shrimp. What is Bryce doing? Is he back keeping shrimp? No, he's just keeping guppies now, but that's who I like got all my original Neocaridina information from, off of the Shrimp Spot back in the day. If you want some good reading info, go to the Shrimp Spot. Use the search bar, type away, and read all of the forums. That's going to be better than any book out there. Do they breed slower when they are cold? Yes. When it is colder temperatures, their metabolism slows down. They don't breed nearly as fast, and also their incubation time is a lot longer for the eggs also. Yeah, and even the plants are hard because the plants grow and they move, and you have like, I had like a little book where I had all my boosts and all my moss and all my tanks kind of labeled, so that way I'd be able to figure out where all of them were, and then some moss took over other mosses, and it just became a lost cause. All right, so I am running out of questions here tonight. I see Stephen P just got on the stream. I hate to do this to you, Stephen, because I know like Shelby streams specifically that she does with Pisces is only 30 minutes long, and it's never enough time. But I also expect some good questions from you too, Stephen. So no pressure. So as long as Stephen gets you a good question here in the next few minutes, I'll keep going. But just to bring you guys up on speed here, we had pretty much 6 shows in 7 or 8 weeks that we had to do. Most of them were traveling, and we were doing a lot of things. So we're trying to get caught up on just things around the house and maintenance and whatnot. I was able to go through and do my spring cleaning for the turtles. Pretty much what I do is every year I go to the turtle tubs and I do like a 10,000% water change, and I'm not even joking because they're turtles. They're not breathing chlorine, and they're also like looking at me the entire time while I'm doing the water change. So I'm not like worried about their eyes being a bunch of chlorine or anything like that, and burning. So what I end up doing is I have the drain on the pond, and I'm blasting every nook and cranny with the hose, getting all the mulm, all the debris out of there, all the algae, and went down 100%, fully clean, spotless turtle tubs, the musk tubs, the mud turtle tub, all of the diamondback terrapins got their annual spring cleaning. I went through and like fixed a couple of the shade sails. There was a little bit of a storm that happened right after the show last week. Fixed them, and then of course that night we get another storm, but everything held up and was just fine. Knock on wood, I haven't lost any koi fish for a while, so hopefully whatever moved into my backyard has moved on and found a new place. Either that or the koi fish just got smarter. I do think I have some baby koi, so that is something to look to kind of bright side of everything. I had a bunch of hornwort. I went through and did all the neo tubs too, not just the turtle tubs. Had a bunch of hornwort that had a little bit of algae on it, and it wasn't worth like throwing it away and composting it. So I decided to just throw that into the koi pond too, and see if that won't grow and take off in there. Most of the algae gets eaten before the plants do when I throw it in there from the koi fish. I don't know if they've just got accustomed to eating clumps of Cladophora or not, but the older adult diamondback female terrapin has shed all of her scutes, the little scales pretty much on top of their shells, and one of the babies has like more yellow on the back than it does black, so it's like super flower back. I almost say flower horn every time I'm talking about that, because the flower horn show that they had at the Aquapalooza in Coral Springs the other weekend. But the annual auction for the club was great. Just catching up on water changes. It is a bummer. The kids got sick. Shelby got sick. I'm not sick. Earlier, I don't know why the fan's not turning off. Like, that's 3, that's 2, that's 1. That should be off, and the fan's not going off. The kids are saying they had this problem, and every single time I come out here, I just turn it off, and it's never an issue. But it's been full blast pretty much this entire live stream, so that was driving me out earlier. But yeah, knock on wood again. Hopefully I don't catch whatever the kids and Shelby got, but poor Shelby, she's gotten it worse than the kids for sure. The baby's got a little bit of a tiny cough, and when she's sneezing, there's a lot of mucus coming out, but it doesn't seem like it's a lot of pressure in her head or anything like that. But Shelby's got a lot of pressure. Maybe it's allergies. I can't talk tonight either. Blowing up at the same time. But have a good night. My fish tanks aquatics. Yes, Steven, you better have a good question by the time I'm caught up in there. I better see it. Oh, see, a new local Austin just got here. Been lurking since I needed water and a tissue. Oh, appreciate that. I'm super excited because I'm about a month away from seeing you in Texas again, and hanging out with you and vibes. And it'd be cool if we got to stop by and see Stephen P and Jenna P. Either on the way there, on the way back. One of those times you guys should not be at work and working. We'll try and have some coffee call. Hopefully, they're not sleeping both times we drive through either. That's a possibility. I've had blue neocaridina for years. Not sure what type of blue. Started with 6 from a chain pet store and ended up selling hundreds. I've been up and down with the culling. So we have a wonderful video on our channel. It's called The Difference Between Blue Dreams and Blue Diamonds. And that covers, and if you've had them for 6 years, that covers not just those 2 types of shrimp, but goes over the other ones too, and will help you figure out what type of blue neocaridina you have. Trying to maintain a strain of extremely dark blue ones, almost black. I swear I've had some random ones come out with orange looking eyes sometimes. Now I realize that's a sort of sought after trait. Yeah, it definitely could have been, but again, you might have had black pupils, and to me, that's not something that interesting. Is an orange-eyed red crystal a possibility? So you can get a orange-eyed tybee that looks like red crystal shrimp, but there has never been a red crystal shrimp mutation for orange eyes. Is it possible? Yes, but now it's like winning a genetic lottery, and there's very, 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 very few like opportunities to get that kind of genetic mutation in the lottery. I don't know how to make this. It's like winning a lottery and everybody on earth is participating with 10 lottery tickets or something. I don't know how to make it seem like it, and you only have 1 ticket. That's how to get orange-eyed red crystals. Maybe the chances are better than that, but it's a very, very rare mutation to get. Yeah, no, it's normal if the eyes are, if the pupils are black. If they're golden, then no, it's very rare, and it's something that you should try and separate off and get into their own tank. All right, the Stephen P question: how do you maintain recessive gene stability without triggering inbreeding depression? I totally looked that question up. Well, sir, I already answered this question before. If you had been here earlier, you would know the answer to this question is start with at least 50. As long as you have at least 50 shrimp in your colony, there's more than enough stability that you will never have to worry about any inbreeding depression. So that was an easy one for me to answer because I already answered it, Stephen. You failed. You let me down. You let the whole community down, actually. All of Fish Fam Link. Bow your head for Stephen P. Let's take a moment of silence. I'm just kidding. I'm reading this. Apparently, I've been living under a rock because I didn't realize you guys had turtles. We have 13 turtles. I just counted them all yesterday. 7 diamondback terrapins, a slider, a razorback, a loggerhead, 2 mud turtles, and 2 common musk turtles. Or Shelby. Shelby is sick, and that is the most important question of all. Yeah, she's just a little bit under the weather. I didn't realize I probably answered that question as soon as you asked that too, just naturally from whatever I was talking about. Went to nature aquariums during Aquapalooza. Really awesome store near the event. Huh. I'll have to check that out. I don't think we've actually done any pet stores down in South Florida. I've been meaning to get over to like Badfish and check that one out. It's just the time of the year. The kids have missed too much school already with our Colorado trip, and I think they're going to miss a little bit of school with Dallas Aquascello too. Um, so we didn't take any extra days to like kind of hang out and do even extra fishing than what I wanted to do or than what we done, and go see that. My buddy Will's down there with like his own little zoo. I've been meaning to check out that for a while. There's a lot of things that I want to do in that area, and I never get the chance. Never enough time. Do shrimp produce mucus? I don't think so. I'm gonna say no. If the answer is yes, I'll give you a free thing of shrimp food as well. I'm googling it though. And the answer it gave me is they produce mucus to us if we have an allergic reaction. Um, yeah, no shrimp food is awarded. I'm gonna say they don't produce any mucus underwater. I don't think they have a slime coat or anything like that either. Yeah, see, like I would say 2 or 3 weeks ago, the kids in Shelby all had a cold too, and this is a little bit worse. The cough is a little bit worse. I'll go back in the stream to find another question. Oh man, I don't think you'll have enough time. I think I'm catching up here. uh, Next question. Bucephalodendra classification is logging and common names are a mess. Please fix? Question mark. All right. Again, Stephen P. I'm going to need you to go back to the beginning of the stream and follow the question. Follow the rules. Tonight's questions were all on dwarf freshwater shrimp only. Bucephalodendra is not a shrimp. That is a plant. I'm just messing. I think everybody is aware that Stephen knows that. But yeah, no, Boost classification is a mess. There's most of them are named after the flower, and I think only 23 of them were like properly named and classified and documented. And then the rest are kind of just like new location of the same plant or something like that. I can't remember how it is. But sadly, because of the area and the palm deforestation and stuff like that, and the palm harvesting and the deforestation in Borneo, I don't think we'll ever really get proper classification of the boost. And then in the farms and stuff like that, they're probably producing hybrids and stuff like that. The way they're all maintained and stuff. I haven't seen a shrimp fart, but I've seen snails fart. I see snail farts all the time, um, and I don't know why, but the first shrimp tank that I replicated, my snails were farting a lot, and like it was to the point where some of them would fart and the fart would get caught in their own shell, and then their shell would start to float, and then they would hit the top of the surface, and then the bubble would bop out of the shell or whatever, and then the snail would sink. And I would have snails floating and falling at the same time. So I don't know if it was the pea gravel or all of the poor shrimp food that they were getting in the beginning. It was just a lot of fish food probably and algae wafers. But yeah, I've never seen shrimp fart, but snails for sure. Have you ever gone to the neighborhood fish farm in Miami? No, I haven't. That's there's I haven't been to a single fish farm in Miami. I've been to Imperial Tropics, Seagrass. I've been to Andreas's. I've been to like a couple of like the smaller fish farmers. I don't know if you'd really call them fish farmers. They're just more people that supply some of the wholesalers, but not on like a massive. It's not their main job, right? Um, but yeah, I would love to go down there. There's a couple of them that I want to go see and hang out with. I can't remember that off the top of my head. The guy that I met, oh, it almost came back to me. Um, Summerfield, Summerland Farms, maybe. I met him in Aquashella, and he gave me an invite to come down there, and that's like right before we stopped like making our monthly trips down there. So I'm sure I could reach out to him and go check that one out. And he's got the connections to go to other ones and stuff like that too. And I don't think any of them see me as like a threat because I'm doing shrimp and I have no interest in doing fish whatsoever. So I get to when I go to a lot of these places, I get to see some of the cooler things that they're not interested in, comfortable sharing with people. In your opinion, what is the biggest myth in the shrimp keeping hobby? That shrimp don't like water changes. That is the largest, biggest BS myth in the entire thing. I give 90% credit to water changes being the reason why I'm able to do this full time. If I didn't do the water changes in the way I do the water changes, I wouldn't be able to breed as many shrimp. I wouldn't be able to grow them up as much as I could. And I would have to be like some of the others and buy and resell in order to keep up with demand. But because I do the maintenance, I get the numbers. I wasn't feeding any beans to the snails. That would have made sense. I think the snails use that air under a shell controlled buoyancy to get a scum that collects at the top of the water. I mean, maybe, but they were definitely messing up with like there was too much because they're hitting the surface and they're not like turning over and like eating it. They're just falling. I definitely know like the Malaysian trumpet snails do that all the time. I've seen them protein skimming across the surface pretty much every night in the garage of the green emerald tank. Um, yeah, yeah, he's got a lot of cichlids. Could Neos and Caradina be released back into the wild somewhere and survive? I mean, yes, there's Neo Caradina in ponds all over the place here in Florida. My buddy Art caught some in Tampa down in Riverview. There's a known spot in Silver Springs that has a breeding colony of red cherry shrimp. But this is something that you should never do. You should never introduce something that is in your tanks and release them out into the wild. Um, there is, um, rehabilitations and stuff like that. And I'm aware, like, I wanted to go down that route and be able to breed our diamondback terrapins. And I didn't want to do it for money. I wanted to do it as like that's my conservation effort, right? I am working. Oh, I'll talk about that next because I'm super excited about that. But I would have loved to be able to just raise the babies to a certain size and then go out to a little estuary, a little brackish spot, and release these diamondback terrapins and give them like a better shot at life and be able to produce babies down the line and get the wild populations going. But even with my efforts, the population is still going to go down regardless. There's still too much of the land being developed. There's too much poaching. Even with the laws, I'm sure they're just being smarter about it on how they're taking them and getting them back over uh, out of the country, right? There's the biggest threat to them is the crab traps, and they just get stuck in them and drown. And the commercial crab traps have zero alert system for the terrapins or any way for them to get out whatsoever. So it's one of those things where they have to change that. And even my efforts, it would have made a big deal, but that's what I would have loved, right? But today, water changes. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where I can't preach enough about how well the tanks do. I wouldn't have so many tanks. I know these tanks look like they're foggy. The light kind of makes them look. I don't know. There's a lot of biofilm on the front of the glass, but the amount of algae and the type of algae and what I consider algae with the water changes is just like very, very minimum, right? Where if I wasn't doing water changes, I'd have hair algae in a lot of tanks. On top of Cladophora, I'd have green water, and it would just be a real big mess, and it wouldn't be as clean and pleasant to live with, right? So, um, of course not. I have multiple mercy tanks. Just a random question that popped into my mind. All right, I'm just making sure. All right, so today I had a knock on the door, and I mentioned earlier I'm selling aquariums, and I just talked to this guy, and he's like, I'm available Monday or Wednesday, and I was like, Wednesday works better, and then he's like, does noon sound good to you? And I'm like, yeah, noon sounds great. And then I get a knock on the door like 30 minutes later, and I don't know what time of the day it is. I've been catching shrimp for my packages today. I'm just grinding, trying to work. And I was like, oh my God, the guy that wanted the tank show up today, because I still got like $200 worth of plants that I need to get out of the aquarium and all this other stuff that I got going on today before this guy can come by on Wednesday at noon to pick it up. And I was like, oh my God, did this guy just show up now? Am I going to have to tear down all these tanks and do all this stuff in front of this guy and be a big inconvenience on shipping day? But no, it was my plant inspector, and this guy is so pleasant to work with. I wish all of the officials that I have to deal with for my permits was as nice as this guy. He's very efficient. He's never had an issue with any of my questions. And I've got, like, today I hit him with, hey, with the license that we have, is it good for saltwater plants too? And he's like, what's with you and all these questions? Like, how do you come up with this stuff? I have no idea. I'm going to have to go look this up and look into it and da-da-da-da-da. So, oh, the newts had more eggs. All right. Splendid. I got 2 tanks with newt babies now. I got to move them again. I got to move the tiger limia. Yeah, tiger limias outside. And I can remember where my shrimp came from and the person's name and what state they came from, but I can't remember the simplest fish that I have. But where was I talking about the plant inspector guy? One of the nicest guys. Talking to him, and the macroalgaes, figuring out if I can sell those under the plant permit or not or whatever. But he's also going to help me get my permit so I can keep water lettuce and water hyacinth and ship it up north. And also, he's going to get me a permit that I can go collect it out of the wild. And that's great because conservation and everything like that, they're doing a lot of efforts in the river near my house to try and clean up the river, get the native plants growing. And right now, I can't like legally help with that. I can't go on my kayak and just grab all the water lettuce from the banks and throw it onto my kayak or throw it into a bag and then get to the boat ramp and then throw it into the back of my car and then take it home and put it into a compost pile and properly break it down to where it's not going to get back into the waterways. If I got stopped at any of those points along the way, I could get fined. I don't know what the exact penalty is for doing that, but I would be 100% helping the environment by doing that, right? I personally think the water lettuce is very beneficial to the actual manatees. They graze on it, they eat it all the time. But there's a lot of plant life on the river, and our native plants are more than capable of feeding the manatees. And I think the water lettuce, the water hyacinth, is choking out a lot of the native plants, so preventing them from being able to do what they're supposed to do. So it would be really cool if I could make it like a habit once a week, start at the head of the river, and work my way down to try and eradicate this plant off the river, and then look for other invasive species, get my permits for those, and eradicate those. And at the same time, I can set up like holding ponds and stuff like that at home if I get both permits, and I can ship them up north. I can sell them at shows and stuff like that if I just get my permit here. And all I have to do is basically prove that I'm not going to allow them to get into any other waterways. With our location here, I'm in a no flood zone. I'm pretty much all perfectly set up to get this done. So. And this is something I talked about last year with the guy. And I think I just forgot about it. And I think about it every now and then, and I just never get around to messaging him. But now the gears are moving, and the plan is set in action. So hopefully we'll get that. I also want to get like a permit to go collect Jenna's favorite water plant, the banana. Those are all over here in Florida. They're in ditches, and throughout the year they dry up, and they're not an easy plant to get from the nursery. Sometimes they only allow us to buy 5 of them, and it's like sometimes I go to shows and I sell 10 of them to one person. So you definitely want to be able to have access to those plants. And banana plants, there's an argument. Dr. Anthony has quite a wealth of knowledge under his sleeve, and according to him, they're invasive. But if you talk to Brian Skidmore, who's a big local collecting plant guru, not plant guru, but collecting guru here in Florida, they have them listed in the Florida Collecting Guide as a Florida wild native. So, but there's also the debate on water lettuce, on whether or not it's native here or if it was brought in. But more than likely, it wasn't a native plant. I think I hear it quite often because there's the splendid tequila splendids. Yeah, I'm hoping the new babies survive, and I can get them to grow up a little bit bigger. I am debating right now on possibly setting up a couple of grow out tubs for them, or trying to get them to grow up in the 55-gallon tubs again. Maybe I even collect some of these eggs and see if I can't get them to grow up in some 10s or something like that. I don't know. I really enjoy the newts. I already have. Oh, I don't have a collecting permit, but I already have my license to ship fish. Oscars aren't a problem, but to collect them and ship them, that's another thing. But if I collect some Oscars, I was just going to ship them to you. I caught one on rod and reel, but I didn't feel like that was right, catching him and shipping him off. I want to catch like a school of nice juveniles. Those should be on sale here for Easter here. So look out. Make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell here on YouTube to get that YouTube short with the sale. Sleeper barbecue. Just noticed the grills to gills bit. That is funny. I guess I missed that in stream. Did I miss something? All right. So I think that's going to do it. I made it an entire 2 hours for the live stream. I did it without Shelby. I didn't have to spin any wheels. We gave away some of this ultra fresh shrimp food, and had a couple good questions, not courtesy to Stephen P, of course, but we did have some questions that are a bit too nerdy, too advanced for me. I did not do enough schooling for those. I'm sorry. But yeah, hopefully you guys learned a thing or two about your shrimp tanks tonight. Next week, though, will be the trivia. Hopefully Shelby is back to 100%. And we'll have a bunch of questions for you guys, and a bunch more prizes and awards to give out as well. So thank you, everybody, for hanging in with me tonight. Have a great week. And until next time, take care.